y'all. Ken here, your thrifty apprentice. Happy Wednesday, everyone, and welcome back to another water-soluble Wednesday. Today's video is sponsored by Artwell Art Company. Artwell is a wonderful economical art supplier that specializes in great quality student-grade products that are very easy on the pocket. Artwell graciously sent me their 42-count jelly gouache set for testing and reviewing. I have already unboxed the set off camera due to its size. I took the time to open, label, and swatch all of the gouache. In this video, I will start the testing process with two beginner-friendly gouache projects that you will hopefully find straightforward and fun. I have really enjoyed using all of the Artwell watercolor products that I have up until this point, and I'm hoping the same holds true for the gouache set. So without further ado, let's jump into our two painting demos for the day. So for the first demo, we are going to be doing sort of a limited color kind of silhouette painting. I'm using cobalt blue, ultramarine blue, white, and the black from the gouache set. Now I've kind of taken a palette knife and dipped some of the color out of the jelly cups and put it onto a palette. And then resealed the entire case so I could keep that paint moist. And then too, this gives me a chance to test how the paint is going to react once it dries out. See if it's going to crack, and if it does crack, how bad it cracks without sacrificing the entire palette of paint. That way it'll still be moist and wet when I go back to it the next time to pull out colors. So I definitely suggest that with your jelly gouache. Don't dry it out. I made that mistake with my Maya Hemi set, and let's just say I have grown to know better. So I just dip what I need out of the cups and put it onto a palette and paint with it. So in the sky, we used cobalt blue for the majority of it, ultramarine blue at the top. Then I went back and mixed white into it. Now, I originally started out by mixing cobalt blue and white together in order to keep that color really, really light. I took the same cobalt blue and ultramarine mixture, watered it down a lot, and that's what I used to paint in the water. Going back in with some white paint, throwing in a couple of clouds, and I've switched over from the flat brush I was using to a detailing brush. Now, this is a Maya Hemi detailing brush specifically for gouache. 5 of them came in a set. I ordered them back during Prime Day. You may remember seeing them in that art haul video. But what I've done is taken ultramarine blue and started to paint in the darker parts of the water. I started out with that detail brush just to make sure I could get a thin line on the horizon. Then I switched back over to the flat synthetic brush that I was using, and that's a Zen All Media, by the way, in order to continue to bring the dark portions of the water down into the foreground off the end of the page. I took that same mixture that I used for the dark to add the shadows into the water, mixed in more black, and that's what I used to paint in the little mountain range along the horizon. And then I decided, I want to do something different, so I grabbed that detailing brush and started to draw little vines hanging off of the top of the page. That's not something I normally do, but I don't know. I was just playing around with the gouache. I didn't really have a plan with this particular composition. Now, the second composition I planned out more, but this one was just really just kind of playing around with the paints. And you guys know that with new products, when I open it up and to start a day of painting, I'll typically do something silhouetted just so I can get a feel for how that particular product works. Now, after I drew those vines in, I grabbed a little white on that detailing brush and added it to the right side of each of the spaces that I wanted to create individual mountains on. Now, gouache, unlike acrylic and much like watercolor, will reactivate the layer up under it if you rub back and forth enough with a damp brush. So it allowed me to mix that white into the right side of each one of those mountains and just basically create a lighter highlighted shade That gave the mountains a little bit more dimension and divided that one large mountain up into three different mountains. Now I'm going back with that same shade of dark blue mixture, which is ultramarine and cobalt, a little bit of black, and I threw in some shadows under the mountains. Switch back over to my little detail brush, and now I'm using the mixture, that darker mixture that I painted the vines in at the top in order to throw in some little grasses in each corner of the foreground. I'm actually trying to frame it. It was really simple, so I wanted to give it a few more elements just to make it look nice. Threw in a few cattails, a few flowers here and there, and then I grabbed that white gouache and I'm going back in and throwing in highlights on everything. I'm going to highlight the vines that are hanging down from the top of the page. I'm going to put in the highlights on the cattails and the little flowers. And then I'm going to throw in a water line along the mountain and bring down the little shimmers of water of light that you would see in the water. And I thought to myself, okay, well, I need something to be making that light. So I'm going to eventually put in a little sun going down behind the mountain range. I hit the top part of those clouds with a little bit more white just to make them look a little bit more fluffy. Drew in the sun, a little reflection in the water, and now I'm going to frame this with a black fine liner pen, as I do with most of my compositions. Now, this particular sketch paper or sketchbook is a watercolor book by Creative Mark. It's one of their reflection books. It will kind of rip with tape, so I do use a heat tool to heat the glue up on that tape and remove it. So that's how I did the first composition. Now we're going to jump into the second one. This one was a little bit more planned, and I decided I would make a Christmas card front. Now I'm painting it in the sketchbook, but I can always scan it into my computer and actually run it off, I don't know, maybe like 4x6. That way I can create the front for a 5x7 card. I think that'll be really cute. So basically, I blocked off the paper. I drew out where I wanted my peppermints to be. And then I watered down the background, or should I say, I added water to the background, because in this composition, I'm using the gouache more like a watercolor at first, and then we're going to build onto that with more thicker gouache layers. So I took sap green, watered it down after wetting my background, and that's what I used to do the background with. Now you will see it's not flat. I purposely wanted like those painterly strokes in it, so I just thought it would be a really cute background. Next, I went in and started adding dimension, started to add dimension to my peppermint. And I did that basically by mixing black and white together until I got a gray that I wanted, watered it down so that it would be a really thin layer, and then just went in and added that around the sides of the peppermints in order to make them look round. I did forget to mention that right before that, I used sap green and black to make a really dark shade of green, and that's what I used to paint the shadow up under the peppermint. And you guys know, lately I do that a lot. I start with the shadow. I don't know. I just think it helps me. I've said it before. I think it helps me with my midtones. So we've got the shadow, we've got the background, we've added dimension to the peppermint, and now I'm taking that same detail brush and I'm going in and actually adding in the red stripes. Now this was pretty straightforward. The color I used was Scarlet from the set, if I'm not mistaken. And basically, I just went in and added in the stripes. Straightforward color, didn't water it down, pulled it straight basically from the cup, so to speak, and just used it to paint in the stripes. Now, in order to add the dimension to those stripes, I'm going to mix that same scarlet with black to give me a shade of scarlet, a darker shade of the scarlet. And that's what I'm going to add into the areas that I added the shadow to create the dimension for the peppermint candy. And as soon as I get these stripes painted in, you will see me doing that. Now, the area where one peppermint lays on top of the other, I did shadow that with that watery gray that I made. And then I'm going to be shadowing it again with the shades of the scarlet once I get to that point. Now here's where I've mixed the black with the scarlet, and I'm just going in around the shaded area and adding it to each stripe. I want to keep the peppermint looking round. I want to keep that dimension in it. So I basically just threw that in all the areas that I needed. And then I added a little bit more black to my gray mixture, watered it down, and I'm going in and redoing the shadow side of the peppermint. Just wanted to make sure it felt round. I'm going to hit the white area around, just to make it stand out from the paper. And then, too, it's going to definitely make one candy piece look like it's stacked on top of the other. Yeah, it's straightforward. It's really simple, but I think it's really effective. And I really like breaking down really simple paintings and really paying attention to the fine details to make it look as realistic as possible. And this is how I practice on my realism. I try not to tackle too much at one time. Well, guys, that's going to bring this first gouache video. I want to thank Artwell for sponsoring this video, for sending me the set, for testing and reviewing. Hopefully you guys saw something that you liked in this video. Now I'm going to throw some basically snow in the background, take the detailed snowflakes and the detailed brush and add snowflakes in the background. And then I'm going to actually grab a stamp. I'm going to grab that Merry Christmas stamp you guys have seen me use in many videos. And I'm going to stamp Merry Christmas at the top. My ink is going to skip, unfortunately. So I ended up grabbing a black fine liner to go in and trace in the Merry Christmas after I stamped it, just to make it look blacker, stand out, be bolder. So all of that is coming up really soon, starting now. Haha, there it is. There's that stamp. So, and that's how I'm going to finish everything up. Hopefully you saw something you like, guys. Don't forget to give the video a thumbs up if you did. Go ahead, hit up the comment section. Let me know what you think. Have you tried Artwell Gouache? I would love to know. Share the video. Sharing is caring. If you're new to the channel and you haven't subscribed, or returning and you haven't subscribed, please go ahead. Hit that subscription button, then that notification bell so you'll know when all the new content comes out. You can hit up the video description for all of the relevant links. Facebook, most recommended product list, Etsy, and Patreon in case you decide to support. And remember, as I always tell you guys as you see me remove this tape, just keep painting and crafting.